So one of the things that I love about CrossFit is that no matter where I am, either in the United States, in any part of the world, I can always find a box where I can go train. My job sent me to California. It was easy as just looking up, the CrossFit boxes around the area where I was gonna be at for like a seminar, and I went to go work out. My wife and I went to France and to London 2 years ago, and I didn't want to miss out on training. So all I did was go to the CrossFit website and I found boxes where I could work out and train while I was on vacation, miles and miles away from where I live, you know? Um, and that's what the whole spirit of CrossFit is about and has always been about. Ever since I started doing CrossFit back in 2013, it's always been about the CrossFit community. That has been emphasized to a T ever since I first started CrossFit. It's always been like a sort of family, you know. And I've always felt that whenever, I go to a new box and people, come and they introduce themselves, I introduce myself, because I guess when you get your ass handed to you by these workouts, it kind of brings everybody's like together. And so everybody has the same sense of, something that we all went through that we have in common. So when a few months back, when the CrossFit community was all up in arms about getting rid of the founder and and CEO, Greg Glassman, due to his, I guess, rampant racism due to some comments, which I agree were not, the best comments to make, especially when you're the owner, the sole owner, and and the CEO of a big company. Whether he's right or not, that's another issue, which I'll talk about in a bit. But he was wrong in the sense of going about it the way he did, especially now that people have no sense of privacy anymore. Anything goes. Anything you send in an email, people will use it against you. And now I'm not saying that because of that he has an excuse, but like I said, it is his fault for sending those things out, for sending those tweets out, and he kind of put himself in that position just because of who he is. So the issue that had come up with CrossFit a few months ago was the fact that people were, saying that CrossFit had this atmosphere, or the HQ had this atmosphere of putting down people, putting down owners, and there was this, I guess, like the whole Ellen DeGeneres thing that's going on right now, like a toxic environment somehow in the office that was I guess perpetuated by Greg Glassman, and along with the racism and all that stuff. So to me, I didn't get the racism part, right? Because ever since, like I said, that I've been a part of CrossFit and I've been watching the CrossFit Games, it's always been an international sport, right? To me, every time I watched the CrossFit Games, it was like the Olympics, right? Albeit, different Olympics where, the tests are a lot different, but there was always different countries represented, in the CrossFit Games. And that was from like very early on. Keep in mind, CrossFit has only been here for, I think maybe 10 years, something like that. So it hasn't been here for 2008. So the fact that from 2008 till when I first started watching CrossFit, like in 2013, 2014, there was already this emphasis on the international aspect of CrossFit. The fact that in 2020 it came down to there is racism in CrossFit because the owner is essentially racist because of some things he said which were not meant to be taken that way, but they were, and ultimately it cost him his company, right? He had to sell his company. So I was kind of appalled at all the things that were going on during this time, very sensitive time with everybody, people saying that they were going to distance themselves from CrossFit and they were going to drop the CrossFit name and all these things, and I was one of those that I couldn't turn my back on CrossFit, and I couldn't turn my back on the man who started the whole sport. To me, if it wasn't for Greg Glassman, we'd all still be, working out at these global gyms, trying to do the bodybuilding workouts, all this bullshit that actually was not making you anybody healthier, but was actually making everybody the opposite, right? Focusing on aesthetics, focusing on looks, focusing on vanity. Once Greg Glassman and CrossFit came along, they completely changed it. I played football when I was in high school. I care about a lot about performance, about speed, about strength. So once I ended high school and football, essentially, I kind of had to just stuff that down, because the world didn't care about, unless you were like some Olympic athlete or NFL player, nobody cared about really how fast you were, how much, what you could do, except for like I said, these Olympic type of sports, marathons, all these type of things, right? And so when Greg Glassman shifted the culture, now if you go to any global gym, half of the gym now has a bunch of functional fitness equipment that if it wasn't for CrossFit, it would have never have been there. So in 2013, when I decided to start doing CrossFit, it completely changed my life. And it changed a bunch of other people's lives in a very positive way. Now, before when, I was kind of done as an athlete, now I had like a second life, whether I'm good at it at all is something else. But the point is that I try hard, right? And I keep on going back. And that's what happens, right? When you fall in love with a sport that kind of gives you this second life, you kind of just, want to give it your all. And since 2013 till now, I can say I've been dedicated just as much as in the beginning, now that I was in the beginning. So with all these things going on around the world, this whole COVID thing, the Black Lives Matter thing, all this stuff, this was the least, I guess, the most perfect time for CrossFit to band together and kind of, get through all of this. But instead, what happened was people saw it as a perfect time to get rid of somebody who they did not like, who they thought was taking the sport in a different direction. Greg Glassman was putting more emphasis on CrossFit health and the preventive side, right? Trying to upend the medical healthcare community or the healthcare industry by working on preventive kind of medicine in the sense of making people healthy instead of getting people to when they're 40, 50 years old and they have to rely on these medications. Rather have them work out on functional fitness to where they get to 40 and 50, and now they have their health to I guess get them through stuff, instead of going to a doctor and getting prescribed these meds, which will eventually, are eventually all meds are just as bad as any disease, right? So he started focusing on that, and then this whole COVID thing happened, and the government started shutting CrossFit affiliates down. So then one of the reasons why people wanted to take it out on CrossFit, on Greg Glassman, was one of the people that I was talking to, was that people were upset that Greg Glassman didn't give them more help. They didn't get the help they think they needed to get through these times. And my argument for that was, how is that Greg Glassman's fault? Why are you mad at him? You know what I'm saying? Like your government is the one that's telling you to close down. Why don't you go tell them something? Your local governments, right? Getting rid of Greg Glassman is not going to do anything for your business. So I didn't get that part. So then I remember this person that I was talking to, she was, oh, it's not just that. Well, then did you see his tweets and his emails? And every time I disproved something, she would say, well, what about this email? And then I would say, well, it doesn't seem like, da, da, da. And she said, well, did you see the second email? It was always something. Like, no matter what, they were going to try and get rid of Greg Glassman. To the point where they said, he should sell. And then what did they say? No, they should hire a new CEO, and then that he should sell. And then not that he should just sell, but he should sell all of it or whatnot. So it was a whole catastrophe of bullshit, right? And so with all that stuff that transpired, I was kind of disappointed in the CrossFit community. The box that I go to decided to get rid of the CrossFit name. They didn't get rid of the pricing. They're still going to charge people the same amount that they were before, but they weren't going to have to pay their dues, their CrossFit licensing fees, I guess. I'm not a CrossFit owner, so but I'm pretty sure that you had to pay a certain amount of money to use the CrossFit name. But I had already kind of worn myself thin with the owners, because I was very against closing down, right? Working out, not working out, but training in itself keeps people healthy. So the fact that you were going to shut down for 2 months was only going to be counterproductive to the whole, to the whole thing, to the whole COVID thing, right? But I was overruled, and they said, the government wants us to shut down, so we're going to shut down because we don't want to get fined or put in jail or nothing like that. And even though they said that, they said the government was the one that shut them down, they still, when everyone was jumping on the bandwagon against Greg Glassman, they said it's Greg Glassman's fault, and we're going to unaffiliate, whatever, with CrossFit, and we're not gonna, use the CrossFit name anymore. So then, I could have said, well, are you gonna change the pricing of the membership, since you don't have the CrossFit name anymore, or the licensing, or even the training for your trainers, or whatever, the CrossFit level 1 certificates and all that stuff, right? Everything that you need to take into consideration when you're pricing for your members, right? But there was no word of that. But unfortunately, there isn't that many CrossFits around my area, so I had to just swallow, my words and stay quiet for now. So now that Dave Castro and them put up a new video. It's called the Redacted Episode 1. I was very happy to see that on the top of that video, for the CrossFit 2020 games, it says September 14th through September 20th. If you look at the video here, the new owner, Eric Rosa is there. He's a part of the meeting, and throughout the video, Dave Castro basically is talking about some of the events that they're planning to have. How they're gonna maybe have the athletes during how they're gonna, I guess, keep the athletes safe during the CrossFit Games. So at this point, I'm just happy that CrossFit is back. I love the sport. So we just have to keep rolling with what we have, unfortunately. And this video here, they were very careful to not give any hints as far as like what kind of events are gonna take place, right? There's like blurry parts and everything of the board, and they even like edit some of the things that Dave Castro says, right? Very military, like some people were saying in the comments. And so hopefully by September we will have the CrossFit Games. Usually the CrossFit Games are in early August, I think, right? Or late July, somewhere around there. So yeah, the CrossFit Games might happen after all in 2020, despite all the bullshit that has happened so far. So yeah, hopefully it happens. Hopefully it'll be a sense of normalcy that we can all take back, and and give people something to look forward to. I always enjoy it. I always enjoy what CrossFit has been about, what the CrossFit Games is about, and given some of the criticism for Greg Glassman as far as what he was de-emphasizing from the CrossFit Games, people took it the wrong way as far as like they didn't agree with how they got rid of regionals and all these things. But I think Greg Glassman was thinking long term and not short term. Keep in mind, CrossFit was getting a really bad name as far as being about these juiced up meatheads, working out all the time, and that was essentially the face of CrossFit. CrossFit was no longer about being healthy and being functional, and being preventive. It has switched like to this very simplistic version. Essentially, it has switched all the spotlight to the CrossFit Games, and I think that's what Greg Glassman was trying to fix, right? Unfortunately, we never got there. What this means as far as the games and how they're gonna be restructured going forward, maybe they're gonna have the regionals back. We'll see what they do as far as like, I guess, they were talking about in an interview with Dave Castro a few weeks back about, there is this, I guess, social economic aspect to the types of people that that are able to participate in CrossFit, especially here in the United States. So we'll see what they do about that. I'm more than anything excited about that, because I wish people could try CrossFit, but I understand why they don't, because it can get pretty pricey. And so even for me, I mean, I make okay money, and for me it's even it's not no thing, you know. Um, so yeah, I'm just excited to see where they're gonna take this, you know. Um, Greg Glassman is a good guy, man. As far, you know, what I think. Um, but now we have Eric Rosa, so hopefully he can do something more with the company, different than I guess what it was before. Reebok is gone now, so we'll see what happens with that. And so yeah, so overall I think, you know, it's a very exciting time, even though in the bleakness of all this pandemic going on, I think still we have something to look forward to, and like always, I think CrossFit will always be a shining light, and always be like a revolutionary kind of thing, as it was a few years ago when it basically revolutionized, um, I guess, health, you know. So anyways, excited about this. Hopefully we'll be able to get to see some CrossFit games this year. So we'll catch you guys next time.